It's the year 2015. Black Ops 3 has just been released, and alongside this, we've got a brand new addition to one of the best modes created, Black Ops Zombies. Black Ops 3 Zombies introduce us to a very new style of zombies, with the launch map Shadows of Evil. Alongside its introduction, we were introduced to a variety of new changes such as the double pack-a-punch mechanic, harvest pods, and gobblegums, to name a few. But just as notable as these changes was the introduction of a brand new perk into the game, Widow's Wine. Widow's Wine was the first and only new perk that could be found in Black Ops 3. And whilst you would think that this is a minimalistic number of perks to add, it does make up for it in its abilities. Widow's Wine provides us with a few new features to help the player out. First, upon consuming Widow's Wine, the player receives 4 new sticky Widow's Wine grenades into their inventory, which replace the standard grenades you spawn in with. Now these grenades can be thrown at zombies to entangle them in a web, freezing them on the spot. And to make them even better, if a player is to get hit by a zombie, a grenade will automatically explode, having the same effect on zombies, giving the player plenty of time to escape a potential tricky situation. On top of this, the player does have a chance to free zombies via knifing a foe. All of this can come at a cost and has its limitations. First, as mentioned earlier, the player only receives 4 grenades, meaning that when these are used up, there are no more chances until you either end a round, which you will be given 2 grenades, find a max ammo, or collect a blue spider power up, providing 1 extra grenade. But overall, a very solid perk, and that's pretty much how the community saw this perk as well. To some, this is seen as a second jug, an opportunity to save your life once again, and if used tactically, a great perk overall, with this perk becoming a crunch perk when deciding on what 4 perks to pick when starting games. I mean, you can tell this because it appears in all the Black Ops 3 maps apart from the Giant, even the Chronicles versions via the Wunderfizz machines, with them even taking it a step further in Ascension by replacing PhD Flopper for Widow's Wine straight up. So with the popularity for Widow's Wine being so high, what happened? Why did this perk disappear? On September the 6th, 2016, we saw the release of the final DLC and Zombies map, Revelations. Here, we got a decent send-off to Black Ops 3, and we were all excited to see what would be coming next year. But little did we know the significant changes that were to be made moving into Black Ops 4, and the removal of Widow's Wine was simply just one of these knock-on effects. On October 12th, 2018, we were introduced to our brand new Zombies experience. We had an all new crew set alongside our current storyline, with the likes of Gobblegums also being replaced by Elixirs. But the changes didn't stop there. We were also introduced to a whole new set of perks completely different to what we've ever seen in any previous title. In Black Ops 4, we were given a set of perks completely different to what we all knew and loved, with even the classics such as Jug, Speakola, etc. being sacrificed in an attempt to make each game different and move people away from the crunch perks everyone relied upon. And of course, Widow's Wine suffered the same fate, being removed from Black Ops 4, and from here on, it doesn't get better for the Perk-a-Cola, as we were introduced to a whole new yet similar variant, Winter's Wail. Winter's Wail was one of many new perks added into the Black Ops 4 roster to try and switch things up. Although when you hear the abilities that some of these new perks have, they can sound similar to previous perk entries in the franchise, and the Winter's Wail is no different. For example, the abilities of the Winter's Wail are as followed. The Winter's Wail allows for the player to create a frost explosion that freezes or slows enemies within its proximity when damaged by an enemy melee attack. Now, sounds fairly familiar, right? It's because it is. Its description on the surface is a like-for-like replica of Widow's Wine's main feature. Almost like a, can I copy your homework as long as I slightly change it situation? Now, I'm not saying it's identical. If anything, I think it's actually nowhere near as good. First off, it no longer takes your grenade slot, meaning you can't use the ability as freely as you would with Widow's Wine. On top of this, on launch, the player was only provided with a total of 2, yes, 2 charges to use. Unless you modified the perk, then you got a total of 3, which is still not as many charges as the Widow's Wine. Alongside this, the recharge rate between charges on release was 5 minutes. Yes, you heard that correct. And whilst this perk did eventually get a buff to provide free charges on the base level, or 4 when modified, the recharge rate was still only taken down to 1 minute, which is a significant adjustment but still a long time if in dire situations. Either way, Widow's Wine had been forced to give way to its so-called successor, Winter's Wail, and with the negative feedback thrown towards the devs from the community, change was bound to happen, and this showed in their next release, Black Ops Cold War. After the mixed reception of Black Ops 4, Treyarch Cold War was decided to take a different approach when it came to the Zombies series, and whilst there was an addition of some new features such as armor and salvage, perks returned to their good old fashioned versions of themselves. But in cans? Instead of bottles? Either way, not much of the Black Ops 4 perk system survived, with only Death Perception and PhD Slider surviving the culling. Luckily for us, we got to see the return of fan favourite perks such as Jug, Speakola and Quick Revive return, alongside a brand new perk being Elemental Pop. But still, there was no space for Widow's Wine to return to the roster, and I believe the main reason for this was due to the introduction of field upgrades to zombies. Field upgrades, originally introduced into Modern Warfare 2019, was later introduced into Zombies as an all-new feature in Cold War, this time rewarding the player with an extra ability for killing a certain number of zombies. And whilst there were a total of 8 field upgrades added into Cold War, there are 3 upgrades in particular that in my opinion took away the chance of us seeing our beloved Widow's Wine being reintroduced back into the mode, these being Frost Blast, Healing Aura, and Ether Shroud. Now I won't bore you with each individual ability that these field upgrades possess, but instead I'll be mentioning the specific ones relating to the absence of Widow's Wine. First off, we have Healing Aura. The name gives away its main ability, but when upgraded to tier 2, this field upgrade gains the ability to knock down normal zombies while stunning special and elite enemies, therefore halting their progression towards you. Meanwhile, Frost Blast provides you with the ability to deal damage to enemies within an ice storm created around the player, slowing the zombies down around them. Sounds familiar, don't they? The combination of these abilities seem to link directly to both Widow's Wine and the Winter's Wail, making the use of a perk such as Widow's Wine seem less important. On top of this, the introduction of Ether Shroud means that the player can escape any tricky situation one might get stuck in at the click of a button. So if you have any of these, why would one need something like Widow's Wine? Sadly, this seems to be the thought of the devs as well, since even now, 4 seasons into Modern Warfare 3's lifecycle, there is no sign of an introduction of Widow's Wine into the game mode. Instead, going down the same route using field upgrades to help the players. Although I wish we did have Widow's Wine in Modern Warfare 3 because it could be an exceptionally good perk for those tier 3 areas, there still seems to be no sign of it to come. Going into Black Ops 6 with the potential to have all of these features once again in the game creates an issue for the likes of Widow's Wine, and generates the question of if this perk would even have a point to it within the game with so many similar features. And whilst this perk may be a fan favourite, you have to ask the question, would it make a significant enough difference if it was there? But whilst the likes of field upgrades are in the game, I can't see a way back in for the likes of Widow's Wine. And after its last appearance in Black Ops 3 almost 8 years ago, we have to ask the question, is this the end for Widow's Wine? Thank you to everyone who's clicked on and watched today's video. This is definitely something different than what I've previously done on the channel. So if you did like it, then I'd love to see your feedback down below. And if you really liked it, why not leave a like and maybe even subscribe? But that is all for today's video. I hope you have all enjoyed, and the only thing I have left to say is, Treyarch, please bring back Widow's Wine.